Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. Phil and Nick are behind the mic. Andrew's not here. Andrew wandered in the local library to do research for this topic and got lost. So we asked the librarians where he was, and they just shushed us and refused to answer. So far as I know, he's still in the library somewhere. And if I understood the Dewey Decimal System, I might be able to figure out, where he is, but I don't know.
Standard search and rescue procedures don't work well in a library. They do not like shouting and blowing whistles.
I know, killjoys.
I tell you.
Anyway, admin work. First and foremost, if there's any of y'all there listening in listener land, actually, no, it'd be watching in watcher land, because the listeners, there's post-production. For the people that are watching the stream, let me know if I need to tweak the audio level on that intro and outro, because it is substantially quieter than the rest of the show. And I haven't yet decided if I like that, and I like not blowing me and Nick's eardrums out, or if I would rather turn it up just a wee little bit.
Let us know.
Olivia, tell the librarians you paid your taxes. I tried that with government officials of all stripes, and they don't seem very impressed by that, so I don't know why the librarians would be.
Man, I don't know.
Anyway, so admin work, always must do the admin work, and I'll make it quick and sweet. Patrons, thanks to y'all for supporting the show and keeping the train on the tracks, the shit show from getting too out of control. Olivia, whisper yell. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I don't do whisper yell very well. But Olivia,
we just do straight yelling.
Yes, but Olivia is a patron, so she would be a good person to ask just how insane that bunch of knuckleheads is that thinks this show is worth listening to and watching for $1 a month or more if you're feeling incredibly generous or masochistic. Either way. If you don't like giving the money away for free, but you like merch, there are links in the show description. Supports us, supports a small business, and it'll put a couple bucks in the coffers to help keep the show going. And if you would rather come out and meet me and my wife in person in South Louisiana, Cypress Survivalist, that link is in the show description. We are actually, probably this weekend, we're going to finally put a pin and a date out there for the Cypress Survivalist camping trip, which I think we pushed back to November. Just to try to get past the heat, but it's going to be before Thanksgiving holidays, because that's when the campsites around are just filled to the brim.
Yeah.
So that date will be forthcoming shortly. Honestly, me and my wife and my sister and brother-in-law are still trying to figure out what to do with that. We want to do a camping trip because we enjoy camping, and it's a good opportunity for people who are maybe new to the outdoors to try it with a safety net.
Yeah.
But I don't know, we're all asking questions about do we formalize this and do classes? Do we make it really informal, kind of like the Matter of Facts patron trip? I don't know yet.
You could always do hey, throw a mini class. Just say, hey, after lunch one day, we're going to do a mini class and see how it goes. See if people really like that. If you want, maybe do one a day.
Yeah, kind of the
real low pressure.
The interesting part about running this nonprofit really has been figuring it out from scratch every step of the way.
I mean, you could do an interactive comms class.
That's kind of
wander around with the radios.
I mean,
get people some practice.
Quite frankly, that's usually what winds up happening anytime you get a bunch of us nerds together as we start showing off each other's toys.
Absolutely.
All right. So topic, less than 5 minutes from start to finish, and we're already getting to topic. That might be a record.
Nope. Record was 2 minutes 47.
But did that include the intro time?
I don't know. Because we timed it one time because you had a real hard out.
Yeah. Anyway, topic for today is the Prepper Library, the Preparedness Library, and I don't just mean I don't mean random stuff. When I say Prepper Library, I mean the information, the knowledge, the books, the manuals, the stuff that any self-respecting member of the preparedness community really should avail yourself of. Have it back in your library, have it on your bookshelf, at least read it and be familiar with it. Olivia Chester, fire starting competition, comms examples, tent setup classes for the civvies new to camping.
Not a bad call. Fire starting competition's always fun. The old Boy Scout strings 8 inches up above the ground, burn the string. That's always a fun little race.
Yeah. I don't know. It kind of just depends. Like, so far, the average age of these events really has been. I mean, I'm 42, and I'm probably the young. Well, my sister's 10 years younger than I am, but the 4 of us that are the founders of the organization, have been the youngest people at these events so far. Like that average age is just trending into the 50s and 60s. Which,
all right.
I mean, that tends to be kind of par for the course with the preparedness community, in my experience. But God, I keep looking for ways to push that down towards like younger millennials and Gen Zs, because I don't think that generation is at any less need for those lessons.
Definitely not. But I think that the way they look for information is slightly different. They're more likely to get their how-tos on YouTube and stuff like that rather than in-person classes.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, books. Books we think you ought to have. Books we have that we think are pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Books we think are useful.
And I will say that everything in this, how do we want to do this? Do we want to just go through my list and your list? Do we want to bounce back and forth?
We can go through yours first.
I mean, that's just the order that they're in. Anyway,
works for me, man.
Let's start with a shout out to our guest from last week. The Gorilla's Guide to the Baofeng Radio by NC Scout.
That was on my list as well.
We pretty well made this case when Matt was on deck for us. I don't think this is a ham radio book. It is a book about techniques of information security and comm security and signals intelligence techniques. And you can apply those principles to radios, to cell phones. You can apply them to social media, your social media footprint, your digital footprint. It's like Matt said, it is a book of techniques. It is the principles the book is built upon apply in lots of different ways. Like even something as simple as, and most people know this, but like, you know, when you go on vacation, you probably shouldn't be posting all over social media, hey, we're going to be out of town for the next week, because friends of friends of friends now know your house is going to be unoccupado for a week.
Yeah, your cousin's drug addict friend now has seen that your house is empty and filled with copper.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where, like, you know, those lessons of controlling the information you put out via radio or via social media, those apply in lots of different ways. So,
they absolutely do. It and even you can apply it in your interpersonal interactions at work, or out at the grocery store. I mean, how many of you have found out oddly intimate details about your coworker's home life that their wife probably or husband probably wouldn't want you knowing?
Yeah, some that even make me uncomfortable to know.
Yep, that they do. But you know, that's. If you're never taught these things, you kind of got to figure it out on your own. But this book is a great, I wouldn't say overly simplified, but properly simplified implementation of those techniques. So
at the risk of insulting any of my fellow veterans out there, whether they be, Chair Force, Navy, Crayon Eaters, or my fellow Army guys or girls, I will just say it is written so that a grunt could figure it out. And there's enough meat and potatoes there that, like, really anybody should be able to pick up the principles and run with it. And if you have a Baofeng UV5R, then the book is 100% up your wheelhouse. But even if you don't, like, I'm a GMR, I have GMRS radios. A lot of this applies because it's still a UHF radio in a different service. So, you know. Anyway,
Yep.
but yeah, Girl's Guide to Baofeng Radio, highly recommend it.
Fantastic book.
If you have no interest in communications, you should still consider it. It is not an expensive book to get a hold of, and it's good reading.
Yeah, it's an easy read. It's not a heavily technical read.
No, it is really, even the technical parts are really broken down to be easily understandable by the layperson.
Yeah.
This should not be controversial, and it really shouldn't require a lot of arm twisting. TMs and FMs, technical manuals and field manuals. Let's just say that there is your government spent a phenomenal amount of tax dollars over the past 60 or 70 years collecting information and codifying it and publishing it, and a large amount of it has now been made public access because it's no longer considered to be sensitive. So you can crawl the internet for technical manuals and field manuals, and if you can get a listing of all the FMs that are out there, you can search for those specific FMs you're interested in. But just Google it, and it's out there. And some of this is some of this is going to be stuff that, the average person would roll their eyes at and say, that's not applicable to me. Like, if I don't know if it's available, I haven't looked for it because I don't care. But if I went looking for the technical manual for UH-60 Blackhawk, probably not the most pertinent thing in my universe any longer. On the flip side of things, if you get field manuals for area denial or small unit tactics or improvised munitions and weapons and a variety of other subjects, that information's all out there, and it is every bit as applicable today as it was in the 1960s.
I mean, the FM survival manual alone is a gold mine. I mean, there's no information that I've come across in there that would be detrimental to you that I have come across so far. I have not finished reading it. I just recently got it.
Yeah, I'm actually just cruising through right now.
You can get most of them for free as PDFs online too.
If
you're not willing to pay for print copies.
Yeah, but you could also get them for free and then print them on your own paper if you really want. But right now,
you could, yeah.
I'm sitting here with 2111 First Aid for Soldiers, FMST 31-9 U.S. Army Special Forces Medical Handbook, 3121 Guerrilla Warfare and Special Forces Operations, FM 3110 Denial and Barriers. There's a fun one in here.
Jeff had a good one here. Combat Engineers, TMs, and FMs. Those guys can fix or break everything. And those manuals will tell you how to fix and or break all of it.
Here's two good ones. TM 31-210 Improvised Munitions Handbook and FM TM 31-200-1 Unconventional Warfare.
Yeah.
And then the one that everybody that was ever an officer should have stapled to their hand, FM 25-26 Land Nav. But anyway.
That is a good one for that though. I mean, Land Nav is not the easiest thing to do unless you practice it regularly.
And I will just say that within the realm of what you can get away with or what is legal in your locality, you really should try a lot of this stuff out and practice it to some degree, because if under pressure is not the time to learn. But those resources are all out there and they are publicly accessible, and that's why you should have any and all of them that pique your interest even at least a little bit, because why the hell not?
You already paid for them once.
Yeah. You paid for them, your parents paid for them, your grandparents probably paid for them, your grandparents might have had a hand in writing some of them. So, respect the generation that figured out a lot of this cool stuff.
True.
All right, here's one I recommend frequently, and most people have never heard of it. Have you heard of Unconventional Warfare?
Yes.
So, for those of you out there, I would tell you, please Google this and find a PDF copy of it on the internet, because it was written by a pair of communists. Therefore, the idea of paying for this would be completely disrespectful to those two gentlemen. But unconventional...
Well, Che Guevara t-shirts, man. Capitalism won.
Yeah. Anyway, Unconventional Warfare was written by a pair of PLA colonels from the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. In 96, I want to say off the top of my head. I really should have show notes like prepared so I can quote this stuff off the top of my head. One day I'll be better about it.
I believe that is correct. Yes, it was the mid to late 90s.
It was definitely mid to late 90s. But basically the idea behind unconventional warfare, and the reason I encourage all of you to read it, is it is a manuscript for how to conduct warfare in a post-nuclear age. In other words, the crux of the book was, in a post-nuclear age, in a war between superpowers, no one can you cannot have a kinetic conflict. Eventually, it will always go nuclear if both sides have nukes. Like, sooner or later, someone's going to start losing, and that person's going to get tired of losing and push the button. I'm just saying that's the theory.
That is the theory. I disagree with this theory at a base principle level, but that's fine.
But
communists are often wrong.
But the idea behind the book is kinetic conflicts between first world powers will always end up going full kinetic, full nuclear. And as a result, you do not want to be in a kinetic conflict with your opponent. You want to weaken them in a clandestine manner, which I do agree with. Yes. And this book details things like economic warfare, like manipulating your currency to buy up assets, and then manipulating your opponent's economy. It talks about political subterfuge, honeypot operations, like getting involved with your opponent's politicians and everything so you can twist them and turn them. It talks about flooding the other country with narcotics to weaken the population. It talks about importing
fentanyl.
It talks about importing counterculture. Mm-hmm. So things like, I'm going to start a movement in your country via social media that causes you to fight amongst yourself, because that weakens, because now you're fighting amongst yourself and you're not fighting with me. If any of that sounds familiar, by the way, especially given that this was written by a pair of Chinese colonels, that's a total coincidence, I'm sure. But it's an interesting book, and I tell people you should read it, mostly so that, like, to me, this is like the base layer to having your eyes opened up. Like, you will start seeing the world in a little bit of a different way when you realize that there are people out there who think this way.
Mm-hmm.
And
fortunately, there are also people that, well, fortunately or unfortunately, there are also people that think that way in our government and are not only applying that to our enemies, but us too. They did roll back the Propaganda Act and can now directly propagandize American citizens.
I mean, Operation Mockingbird, Northwoods, MK Ultra. Just saying.
If you think our government wouldn't do it, they've done worse.
We should do, and you know what? I'm going to put up this next one. You know that book, so you can start talking. I'm going to take a quick note.
I'm
going to take a quick note on this, because we're going to have an episode that's going to get us shut down by the NSA one day, where we're going to talk all about the things our government has done that we're not supposed to know about.
It's going to be a long episode. I'm going to need at least 3 beers. Expedient Homemade Firearms by P.A. Ludi, published by Paladin Press in the U.S.
And BT Dubs.
Get this book
Philip
on
Ludi
Amazon.
Is a freaking rock star.
He is. He went to jail multiple times in the UK for developing, let's just call it simplified submachine guns and other firearms that he built in his garage, largely without power tools or with very limited power tools. Essentially what it is an intro to making shit the government doesn't want you to have. You don't have to make it. In fact, I don't recommend that you build this submachine gun that he details in this specific book right here.
You will go to prison.
No, not only that, it's wildly ineffective. It's a smoothbore 9mm that fires its magazine in like 5 seconds. It's a direct blowback with no limiter. It's not a great machine gun, but it is a machine gun.
But hold up. I do have to stand on business here, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, machinist, I understand. It's the worst submachine gun on earth.
Oh, no, it's not the worst submachine gun. There are far more worse submachine guns. What it is a adequate, if inefficient, machine gun.
But the reason why I think Philip Ludi's accomplishment is so great, so much greater than the sum of that firearm, is that the reason the plans are the way they are is because here in the United States, we have very, very weird gun laws where, like, the only thing that is registered The only part of your firearm that is actually a firearm is the part that has the serial number on it, the frame, the
Correct.
receiver. In the United Kingdom and in most European nations, they regulate everything that is pressure containing. So the barrel, the chamber, the bolt, things that are a little harder to just clutch together out of stuff from Ace Hardware. I didn't say impossible. I said a little harder.
12 gauge would like a word with you.
Yeah, one of those FMs that I quoted a minute ago tells you how to make tells you the perfect size water pipe that will make a 9mm barrel.
Yep.
Anyway,
and that is also in this book right here.
What's the 9mm subgun that's 3D printed? Is that the FCG9, I think?
There's the FGC9.
FGC.
There's a Scorpion clone. There's a Mac clone. There is an Uzi clone. There's an MP clone.
Do we know anyone who knows a ton about 3D printing guns?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've not built any of them, but
obviously,
I have most of the models.
Fun is illegal in your state.
Well, no, I'm a machinist. If I'm going to make myself a gun that's illegal, I'll do it out of proper stamped steel or milled aluminum.
In Minecraft.
If I'm going to break the law, am I going to do it on a shitty plastic? No, I'm going to go all the way. Come on now. I'm going to build an M2.
Jeff is thinking of the FGC9. I got a little autistic there for a second.
There's an LAR one now too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We might
that you can do almost fully 3D printed.
So I actually quite a while ago, before his YouTube channel exploded and now he's impossible to get a hold of, but when Print Shoot Repeat was like just kind of starting to come around, I actually reached out to him a long time ago, be like, hey, come on the show, talk about 3D printing guns. I love your content. And at the time he was polite, but it was the vibe I got was like, I am entirely too busy making my own content.
Fair enough.
And I was like, hey, that's cool. Good. Best of luck to you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. I hope you do well.
He is not hurting for attention.
No, Print Shoot Repeat does phenomenal things. Deterrence Dispensed is a website you guys can go to find out more about 3D printed firearms. But if you don't want to do your guns with a 3D printer, then PA Ludi and a few other people have got some great info.
Yeah, but to me, like the story of Phil Ludi, this damn book and the Ludi submachine gun are just like the tip of the iceberg. The real meat and potatoes is the fact that after his country basically all but banned firearms, as an act of political screw you, he wrote these plans and published them. And then to prove it worked, he built a pair of them. And that's what he went to prison for the first time, was having unregistered machine guns. Mm-hmm. And then you heard about the way he got slammed the second time, right?
Publishing the books or something like that?
No, he published the book first. He went to jail for making the machine guns. That was a big no-no.
Yeah, I know that part.
10 years after he gets out of prison, the British government changes the statutes to say that to basically make it to where the legal opinion was him publishing this book on how to make your own guns. It was because it was publicly accessible. Terrorists theoretically could have bought the book and used it to make guns. So they put his ass in prison a second time for the book that had been published for more than 10 years at this point, after they already slammed him for the machine guns.
Retroactive illegal speech. Yeah, the UK is really great about free speech.
Yeah, look, anybody who tries to tell me that, like, we have freedom in Europe, I'm like, the fuck you idiots do. If you can go...
We don't really have it here, but...
Listen, I can post everything up to death threats against politicians and get away with it.
True.
I can, and look, I tell people this all the time. This is the only country where you can literally, like, you can work for the government and post shit about your boss, about the president of the United States of America, and 99 times out of 100, if you don't color way outside the lines in the margins, you're going to go to work the next day just fine.
Yeah.
And in the UK, if you post spicy memes, the Gendarmerie, the Gestapo knock on your door the next day to want to talk to you about it. That's
heaven forbid you train your dog to do a Nazi salute as a joke.
You're not making me feel any better about this, man.
No.
Anyway.
But, you know, wars were fought, so we didn't have to listen to the crown.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have aggravated quite a number of Europeans over the years with something to the effect of the last time my country gave a shit when anyone in Europe thought was 1775.
Yup. And all the rest of the time we've been having to dig them out of their messes.
I'm okay stopping that whenever y'all are.
We can stop now.
We could. But then how would we launder money to the military industrial complex?
Look, we got a lot of smart people working on efficient money laundering, okay? I'm sure we can sort this out.
Oh, goodness gracious. Let's talk about one of my personal heroes, Unintended Consequences by John Ross.
Book.
So I haven't told this story, I don't think, on the show. And if I have, it's been a lot of years. So years ago, I actually managed to track down John Ross.
Really?
He's not easy to get a hold of, understandably. He's up in the years. Yeah. He's kind of, living the quiet life out of the public spotlight.
Good for him.
I did manage to get in touch with him, and we talked back and forth very briefly. And I tried to entice him to come on the podcast. Told him flat out, I'm like, listen, I love your book. I promoted to everyone in the community that will listen to me about it. It'd be a bucket list thing to get you on my podcast. Mm-hmm. And we talked back and forth. He politely declined. Haven't heard from him since. I was and will always be very disappointed that I missed out on the chance to talk to him more, because his book is amazing.
It is.
But for anybody that hasn't read Unintended Consequences, you should. It is difficult to get in print. It has been out of print most recently for several years. I've seen hardbacks go for like $140 to $200. It's not an easy book to get.
PDFs do exist.
PDFs do exist. And given, I don't like the idea of pirating really good stuff. I feel like the creator should get money.
Either.
But when it's something that's been out of print for this long, I'd rather a person read the book than not read the book.
And I think that he, at this point, would probably agree with you on this, that he would rather the book be read, seeing that it is not in print.
Yeah. Now, Unintended Consequences, for the uninitiated, is a fiction book, kind of with some history sprinkled into it, you could argue. I mean, some of the historical tellings in the book, they're close enough to reality, but they're not exactly reality.
It's like historical fantasy.
Yes.
It's extrapolating historical events to a possible conclusion.
Yeah. But the idea is that continued government encroachment will eventually precipitate a full civil uprising and civil war. Basically, yeah. That's basically the crux of the book, is that, in the pursuit of government trying to justify their own existence, they end up abusing their power, and eventually they piss off just the right number, the right people, just badly enough that they say, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, and things get spicy in like the last quarter of the book.
Yeah. And the point of the book is a warning to the population at large, to the people that would be part of government, to the people that would be voting to elect government, that if you continue along this road, you will eventually push a percentage of people over a red line that they will not find acceptable.
Yeah. And I would almost argue that probably a couple of years ago, I feel like we were approaching that line. Like, that was when you saw...
I think we still are.
I feel... Do I have to
We still are.
Do I have to mark this down as another topic?
You can if you want. I mean...
we'll talk about...
The government encroachment hasn't gone away.
No.
It has just stopped pushing forward.
Yes.
It hasn't reversed.
No.
So, it's not changed. Great. We got a 4-year break, maybe.
True.
We'll see what happens with the midterms.
So I'm looking at things in terms of like cultural sea changes, and
I hope you're right.
Culturally, a handful of years ago, the American populace was about as raw as an unwiped behind. About gun control, about regulations, about red tape, about a variety of things, about basically the federal government from one end to the other exceeding their mantle and their power and the limits of their constitutional limits. So the people were very aggravated. And that's when we saw things like the reaction to things like the bump stock ban, the pistol brace rulings, and things like that, where a very, very large percentage of people said, screw you, I'm not complying. And we saw in states and even at the federal level where some of these things were outright banned and people were told turn them in or else, we saw single digit compliance rates.
We're still seeing single digit compliance rates with the Illinois assault weapon ban.
Yeah, but the reason I say I don't feel like we're as close as we were before, it's not that the government has changed their opinion. It is that the people seem to be like, oh, sigh of relief. Okay, things are going to be cool for a couple of years, which I don't completely agree with, but I don't see the reactionary.
You took the pressure, the pressure cooker that was the COVID isolation has been removed.
Yeah.
Because just frankly, people stopped complying in a large percentage of areas.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, and I would love government overreach to start rolling back and people to chill out. I don't want to have to do horrible things to people. That sounds terrible. I don't want to have to live through that. But I don't see the government backing off ever. They're not well known for backing down.
Yeah, and I mean that I don't know. This is one of those. This is one of those moments in time where I have these rare outbursts of optimism where, like, I really want to believe that maybe as a country we could realize the error of our ways and, you know, take a couple steps back and be like, whoa, guys, we were a little out of control there for a minute. We really should quit effing with people and just chill out, let everybody live and let live. Like, you know, we don't need to be using the power of government to tamp people down. We need to just let everybody do their thing within some boundaries. And, like, we can all get along. We can all agree to disagree. But then my cynicism kicks back in and I'm like, historically,
not been the outcome traditionally.
Historically, people usually come to that conclusion after, like, you know, they've butchered 30% of their own population in a civil war. And then they're like, wow, we were way off base on that. We really need to
Well, traditionally it goes, wow, we could really use a military dictatorship. And then it gets worse. And then they might figure it out after a couple more of those.
I was listening to I was listening to Martyr Made today, and they were talking about the Weimar Republic, the rising of Hitler. Yeah, it's a time period that, like, I'm very familiar with because I'm a history nerd. Mm-hmm. And I don't know.
I tell you, you want a podcast for a deep dive? Martyr Made. My God.
Yeah. It was what, 4.5, 5 hours on Jeffrey Epstein. What did you tell me when you after I turned you onto that, Nick?
Nope, not saying that over the
podcast. Nick was angry.
I was very upset, and I continue to be very upset. Go ahead, listen to that 5 hours and tell me that you're not violently angry.
Yes,
there's no other appropriate response, in my opinion.
I tried to condense that down to like 60 seconds for my wife.
Oh, it's not possible.
And I'm pretty sure it just sounded like autistic shrieking.
Not possible. It would have to be at a very rapid pace. Yeah, no.
Oh,
yeah. If you are a person that cannot handle learning terrible truths about humanity, just don't. You will be better off not knowing. And I don't say that very often.
Yeah. And I will just say that, like, if any of you are a neurodivergent spouse or live with a neurodivergent spouse, you'll appreciate this. My wife has realized over our years of being married that when she wants a short answer, she has to literally ask me the question and then say the short version.
The shortest version possible.
No, just Phil, the short version. Or she'll ask me a question and she'll see the look on my face as my brain is like, you know, organizing all my notes, like we're about to have an hour-long discussion. And then she's like, no, short version. 30 seconds or less.
Learned.
Oh, look, it took her years to learn that. Although, I mean, we'd been married. We got married in 2008. It's 2025. Hell, we've been married about 15 years when she put it together that, like, I'm on the spectrum someplace.
Must not be that high on it.
No, more like, originally she just thought it was endearing that I was such a nerd about so many things. And then she started working with special needs children, and she was like, oh my God.
I got into this career earlier than I thought.
Yeah. That one of these days I will convince she actually, we've talked about raising values once or twice. I'm wearing her down. She's gonna get the podcast back on the rails. But I don't think it's going to be a weekly thing. I think it's probably going to be like a bi-weekly or a monthly or an every now and then. Like,
it doesn't have to be all the time. It's on this channel. It gets pushed out when it comes out.
But I have told her we have to do
Phil's Autistic, the podcast.
We have to do a neurodivergence, and probably bring Eddie on as a guest.
Honestly, that'd be a great episode to talk to him about.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, and especially now, like, as I'm learning to, as I'm kind of coaching my daughter through this, and I'm pretty sure she's in that same bucket. I continue to tell her, I'm like, this is not like you're broken. This is your brain works differently, and some things are going to be a lot easier, and some things are going to be a lot harder. That's all.
Hey, we all have a blessing and a curse, man. I cannot do language for the life of me. Written, I barely do English this well.
Stewart says, okay, I'm here. Start over.
Well, he made it to the important book.
Yeah, and he totally missed me, poured my heart out about, all that. So I'm not going to repeat
Your love
it.
for communism. I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's terrible. They'll have to rewind.
All right, Nick, let it rip.
All right. So, first book on my list, Machinery's Handbook. Now, you don't have to have the newest one because the older ones are still valid. What the newer ones contain is more information, newer information. For those of you that are not in the manufacturing sphere, Machinery's Handbook, aka the Machinist Bible, also called the Bible, Toolbox Bible. It's called a lot of different things. Essentially what this is about 2,500 pages of every little piece of technical minutia that you might need to build, maintain, repair, or engineer something. There are technical formulas, there are material data sheets, there are yield strength curves and analyses in this thing. There are springs in this thing. There are how you calculate the spring load you need. There are varieties of manufacturing techniques and how to accomplish them in here. It is called the Bible for a reason. If you are in manufacturing and you have a question, chances are it's answered in this book. And my God, I mean, yes, a brand new one is like $150 or $200. Don't buy a fucking new one. Go on Amazon or eBay and buy 2 or 3 year old editions that people are selling for like $30. I get more use out of this thing than I do out of any other book in my house. I have a 23rd edition here at the house. I have a 30th edition at work with me. I use that thing constantly. Granted, I am in manufacturing, so it makes sense. But if you happen to find yourself, the book is too thick, there is a Cliff Notes version. There is a digital version of it that you can get. That one's harder to come by, though, and it is going to be a couple $100. Google's the new digital version of it if you want it cheaper. But this stuff is all verified, scientific data. You don't know. Well, Google went to AI search algorithms, so who knows? They're probably going to make shit up for you anyway now.
Yeah.
But that right there, if you have a mechanical question, hell, if you want to make a new spring for your 1923 32 ACP, you can take the measurements of the spring in your broken magazine and use the formula in that book to figure out exactly what modern material you would need and spring wire diameter and how to form it. to make yourself a new magazine spring.
That seems extraordinarily useful.
Oh, it's phenomenally useful. I was doing spring calculations the other day to figure out what amount of tension we needed to load using an air spring, which is basically just passing air behind a piston.
Yeah, it's an
in
airbag.
this case, a non-sealed piston. Well, to hold a piece of punch screen into an injection mold, so we could figure out if we had the right flow for it. I mean, there's just about everything you need in that book. It's phenomenal. Not a lot of people are going to run into that in their daily life, but those of us that do love that book. Fantastic reference. Phil, have you ever used it?
Mm-mm. No, I am not a machinist. I am a shade tree, beat stuff with a hammer.
Dude, if beat stuff with a hammer mechanics need that book.
I will say this.
Like when you were back in your car audio days, that would have saved you a ton of effort.
So interestingly enough, back in my car audio days, I basically taught myself subwoofer box design. Because, it's all mathematical formulas and acoustic tuning and everything else. It's all based on the resonant frequencies of the subwoofer and the resonance of the column of air the box is moving back and forth. So I just taught myself the math and taught myself how to do it, and went out in the garage with a couple sheets of wood and started slapping stuff together. And I'm like, oh, it works. So,
Nice.
But yeah, none of that information came from like a single cohesive source. It was like pieced together from all over the internet.
See, that's the nice thing about this. It's one cohesive source with most of the info. Jeff, yes, that book would allow you to figure out what spring you need for your Ludi if you wanted to buy pre-made springs. Absolutely. But he teaches you how to make the springs in his book, including the spring forming jigs.
Yep.
So, again, Ludi for the win. All right. Next on my list was the Meat Eater Complete Guide to Hunting, Butchering, and Cooking Wild Game. Everybody talks about living off the land, hunting and fishing for some of their food. How many of you actually know how to do that?
I'll be the first to admit I do not know how to butcher wild game.
It's really not that complicated.
I'm being borderline shamed by a mutual friend of ours to go join him at his house this deer season, and
you should.
I didn't go last.
It would be an educating experience.
I'm sure it would. About all I need to do is take my 308, yank some of the bolts out, and replace those Sierra Match Kings with Sierra Game Kings. Just have a nice...
Yeah, that would be a fair enough. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
No problem.
I figure a 165 grain Game King is going to fly just about the same as a 168 Match King. Close enough for hitting a deer.
Yeah. Yeah. Close enough for a deer at reasonable ranges. At 800 yards, not so much. But you're not shooting that far.
No, but I know that load will, put 4 rounds like this at 100 yards. So I feel good about...
you'll be fine.
I feel good about, running my own hand loads.
Your bullet setback might need to change a little bit. I would do a paper test at least, but
that will be an interesting thing to find out, because the reason I centered on Sierra Match Kings for my 308 is because when I was playing around with Hornady AMAGs, those are very, very, very picky about loaded length and your jump to the lands. And in my experience, Sierra Match Kings don't give a shit, at least in my rifle. I
have not had a problem with Match Kings to Game Kings.
I've loaded Match Kings touching the rifling. I've loaded them at magazine length. That rifle does not care if it chips.
You might be fine.
If it fits, it ships.
Yeah, that makes sense. Essentially, what this is it just talks you through the basics of how people hunt these creatures, and then a basic method for how you can butcher it, how you can safely clean the animal once you've killed it, which is pretty key to not spoiling half the meat.
Yeah.
Because if you puncture certain organs in certain animals, you've now spoiled a good portion of the meat.
Yeah, I've heard stories of innards going places they're not supposed to, and yeah.
You can get sick from it, and it will not taste good.
Speaking from personal experience.
No. I learned I learned how to butcher deer from a neighbor that had been butchering deer for a very long time. And apparently, puncturing a stomach on a deer is a very unpleasant experience.
Mm.
And gallbladders are equally not great.
So KD5 PCK says, if anyone wants to get me a Christmas present, the Foxfire book series.
That's a good one.
It's a little early in the year to see if we're going to do another MOF Patron Secret Santa round.
So far, every year we have,
and our favorite redneck has volunteered the last couple years to head that up for us. I don't want to say too much. I might ask him if he wants me to take that over for him this year so that he can be a participant and not, the head cat wrangler.
True. Well, we can make it happen one way or another.
Yeah.
On the topic of food, the Ball Guide to Canning, or the Ball Canning Guide, the Complete Ball Food Preservation Guide, whatever they renamed it to this year, snag that.
So the dumbass Texas redneck said, yes, we will, and then said no, which I'm pretty sure that no is he's not going to allow me to run it this year so he can be a participant.
He's just trying to collect all of our addresses.
He's already got all of our addresses.
Oh, that's accurate.
I mean, to be fair, I have most of y'all's addresses too.
You don't do anything with it
yet,
which is good. That's what I want out of people that have my address.
It's like the one. It's like the One Ring. You can have it, but you can't use it.
Don't touch it. You know where I live, but you better not show up.
Anyway, Ball Guide to Canning.
Ball Guide to Canning. If you're wondering if the recipe you're using is safe, if it comes out of the Ball Canning Guide, it is. That is one of the gold standard canning recipe books. A lot of them the recipes have been proven for a very long time. Deviating from them may still be safe.
Test it on your neighbors that you don't like.
Exactly. No, but if you follow the Ball Canning Guide, you're in pretty good shape. You would have to be messing around quite a lot and screwing things up catastrophically to do wrong by following their guides. So, just if you want to try canning, it's a great place to start. If you don't have all the family recipes, there's a bunch of old family recipes in there, and the ones I've tried are fantastic. All right. Then this is not a single specific book, but if you're not a handy person, if you didn't grow up learning how to wire a farmer's three-way and then set up a drain field, basic guides to plumbing, wiring, and other household repairs. Look, that stuff is expensive to hire people for. Yeah, Stu, I bet. Says he misses canning. Don't try to can your balls. Well, you can balls. I mean, Rocky Mountain oysters are a delicacy. But you got to pressure can those because it's meat. It's low acid.
I now have a new reason not to visit Illinois. Thanks, Nick.
We have a turkey testicle festival not far from where we live.
Why?
You want?
Why?
They just do.
No. You can't just drop. You can't just drop that and then say they just do. Why?
They just do. They always have had it. I don't know. It's always been there. It's been there longer than I have.
But why?
Apparently they taste all right. I've never gone.
Who was the first? Okay, I was about to make a comment and then I'm going to immediately recant it. I was about to say what
a farmer.
I was about to say what psychopath looked at a turkey and thought, I bet that thing's got some testicles that are tasty. But then I corrected myself and thought to myself, like, I've said basically the same thing about eating alligator. Like, some coon ass was in the swamp hungry and saw this big toothy bastard and thought, I bet he tastes really good with salt and pepper on him.
Hey, man, if you're hungry enough, you'll eat damn near anything. And most parts of the animal are edible.
Yeah, but imagine how hungry you have to be to fight an alligator. It's like, okay, it's like
they taste pretty good,
but it's okay.
So the second guy,
but it's like a modern freaking dinosaur, for God's sakes.
It is. But people also eat snapping turtles, and those are basically the same thing.
Also, another creature that you should reconsider your life decisions before you decide you want to kill it and eat it.
That's true, because they will take fingers, like
Fingers,
rapidly.
hands, chunks.
Big hunks of your shoe.
If it
Yeah, I've seen
if it
that.
fits in its mouth, it belongs to the alligator snapping turtle.
Oh yeah, I've seen them bite through a stick that big around. But yeah,
Anyway.
just basic how-to guides. If you don't know how to do it, pick up a couple of those basic how-to guides. Swapping outlets is not that hard, especially when you have an instruction manual in front of you. It's basically color matching. And if you can't see color, well, ask your wife. That's what I do.
Yeah, and I would just say that, like, not specific to having a book on the shelf, but like, if there's any of this kind of stuff you don't know and you want to know, YouTube freaking University.
Yep. KD5PCK has a good one. Old time life guides for homeowners. Fantastic point. Some of the information may be a little out of date due to code compliance, just because of how old the information is, but it's not bad information. Like, it won't kill you to use it.
No, and especially for like for minor to moderate home repairs, I would say it probably falls under the category of good enough.
Yeah,
I don't know that I would like charge headfirst into a home remodel armed with, you know, a DIY how-to book, unless you're much braver than I am and have a much more patient spouse. But I would say that, like, you know, for the basics, for learning the basics, you can get away with a lot with just Google, YouTube. To parlay this into the automotive arena, I'm going to tell you that most popular vehicles have a forum full of freaking nerds that happily share procedures and tips and tricks on how to do a lot of maintenance tasks. Every time I've had to work on my wife's blessed, godforsaken Jeep Grand Cherokee, because I'm not a Jeep guy and I don't own Jeep tools, and I am having to purchase lots and lots of weird shit because Daimler and Chrysler
Jeep does take some weird stuff.
I mean, it's all the same shit your Dodge is made of. It just freaking aggravates me. Yes. Like whatever sociopath invented the 13 millimeter bolt and nut and stuck it in a freaking vehicle ought to be freaking pulled out in the middle of the street and slapped.
Yes.
I digress. I have had to buy some freaking weird shit working on that Jeep. But every time I don't know how to do something, I go to Jeep Garage or Grand Cherokee Forum, and some precious little nerd has already figured out how to do it and posted the whole procedure and even a list of tools so I can go buy all the stuff I don't have. And that applies to Toyotas, it applies to Fords, it applies to GMs. There is information all over the internet. So if you don't know how to do something, you can find out how to do it and usually get pictures and video explaining to you how to do it.
Do you know why they use 13 millimeter bolts, Phil?
Because they are sociopaths.
No,
because
the Germans, no half-inch bolt.
Because the Germans hate Americans.
No, it's because there's no half-inch bolt.
No,
so they had to go something pretty close, which is 13 millimeter.
Like
it's 11 thousandths over half inch.
Like motherfucking half inch.
They could, but they didn't.
If I had any pull in Daimler Chrysler at the time that decision was made, I would have literally shipped a pallet of goddamn bolts to Germany rather than allow them to put a 13 millimeter in anything in this country.
It's fine. It's close to half.
It's not fine. And it's not okay.
It's pretty fine.
It's not okay, and it's not fine. And while we're on that discussion, I can't remember if it was a 27 or 29, but I had to go buy a combination wrench to do the rear shocks on Gillian's Jeep because the only tool you can get at this nut with is a box end wrench. And it's like this freaking big. It's like it's 27 or 29 millimeter. It's you
can get a crowfoot.
Okay. Guess what I didn't have when I went to take the shocks off? On a Toyota, you can disassemble the whole truck with a 10, a 12, a 14, a 17, and a couple of random sockets.
But that's not fun. You need a child carrying a duffel bag of miscellaneous wrenches, Phil.
No.
That's the Jeep experience.
I hate Jeeps. I hate Jeeps.
My first car was a Jeep. I loved that thing.
Fucking Jeeps. Fucking Daimler Chrysler. Anyway.
Toyota Nation Forums is a fantastic
Toyota
resource.
Nation Forums, Tacoma World, like whatever your vehicle is, go and find the web forum for it. And there is and like especially I know Dumbass Texas Redneck has a couple of CRVs. Hondas are among the easier vehicles to work on, and the user
My God,
community
yes.
is so enormous. Like, you can figure out anything about stupid things. And
If you can work on like a garden tractor, you can work on a Honda.
why are we arguing we're using an adjustable anyway? See, that's the funny part, Jeff. The problem is this
Adjustable don't fit.
this was a bolt and a nut in a very little bitty pocket in the rear control arm, and there's not enough depth in this pocket to fit a socket. There's certainly not enough room to fit an adjustable wrench. The only thing that would fit is an obscure box end wrench in an odd metric size. A huge odd metric size.
Yes.
Listen,
It's fine.
I've got, after having spent 25 plus years shade tree mechanicking, I have not an impressive, but an extensive collection of tools. I am not often stymied. I usually can figure out what I'm doing, or I can like piece this and this together and like go in for this direction, or I can totally ignore the procedure and take these bolts apart, take these bolts out to get to what I need. I can figure it out. There was literally no taking that bolt out without that one wrench I didn't have. It was not happening unless I sawzalled the control arm in half, which would have created new problems.
Well, it's always an option.
No. Anyway, the option would have been, don't make the control arm that way.
Yeah, you definitely could. They definitely
could have done that. But instead, they thought it'd be hilarious to screw the Americans by putting this stupid thing the way they did.
True.
Anyway.
So, this one here, not literally the Wheel of Time series. Though, if you do like fantasy novels, it's a 14-book series. It'll keep you entertained for an awful long time. The point is, books are a phenomenal source of entertainment, and reusable entertainment at that. If you have a type of book that you want, I guarantee you there is a large volume series that if you're in a situation where you just have to shelter in place and you need entertainment, crack a book, man.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else to do, crack a book. It will help lower your stress levels. It'll help relax you. It'll help keep your kids entertained. There's no losing there.
Requires no power. Requires no electricity. Requires minimum effort. Doesn't make any noise. I mean, no, I agree with you. I go back and forth on this. I go back and forth on whether or not I'm in a reading mood. I've actually got like 4 Franklin Horton books piled up that I've purchased.
Nice.
And I haven't read them.
They're good.
And it's nothing against Franklin. Franklin's an awesome author. You know how eventually, like, you just fall out of a reading mood? Yes, you're reading the comment. Yeah. I can tell because
I
of the
saw
look on your face. But anyway, Stuart, I'm putting this up on the screen.
Stuart, I hope your wife is watching.
I'm pretty sure at this point Stuart's wife knows exactly who she's dealing with.
Good.
I mean, I'm pretty sure all of our wives know exactly who they're dealing with at this point. Like,
I would hope so.
None of our antics should surprise any of them at this stage of things.
Yeah.
Lord knows I try often enough. But anyway.
Yep.
But
you know,
no,
entertainment is important.
You're dead on. And if reading is not your thing, I agree wholeheartedly about needing a way to hit the emotional pressure relief valve. Whether it's reading, whether it's like a hobby, whether it's whittling, whether it's knitting or crocheting, it really doesn't matter in my estimation. It really just comes down to you need something that is not dependent upon the electrons and the internet to entertain yourself. Because, in a grid, now here's the thing. In the last grid down situation I was in, Hurricane Ida, I had things to keep me occupied. Like I had oak trees in the front yard. And then after that was dealt with, I had family and neighbors to go take care of. And when I wasn't doing that, I was doing chores. I was picking up in the yard. I was cooking. I was doing dishes. Like, I stayed busy taking care of my family. But in a prolonged enough situation, sooner or later, I would have run out of things to do. And you do need to account for that, because like sitting around getting in your head is not a place to be.
It's not helpful. It's really not at all. I mean, the last major power outage we had was like a 3-day power outage, an ice storm. we couldn't leave because there were live or potentially live power lines down in multiple places over the only exit to our neighborhood. So guess what? We did a lot of reading. We did a lot of hanging out and watching the squirrels, playing with the dogs. Made my way through a couple of books.
Yep.
So.
All right. Last but not
Last
least.
one. All right. I'm going to call this Infinite Game Books. D&D, Shadow Dark, Pathfinder. If your family likes games, look into tabletop role-playing games. You can play them with, heck, I've used a bunch of 9mm bullets for minis that were painted different colors on the tips. You can use coins. All you need is dice, some paper and pencils, and these rule books.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give yourself a nearly infinite stream of entertainment for kids, adults, everybody. You know, yes, books, yes, they are also games. I think they fit. It's just a little more entertainment, but something that's interactive with other people as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you got to entertain a group of 5 or 6 kids.
Yeah. And even though it is absolutely not my forte, because if we're depending on my musical talents, we're all going to die. But
musical instrument.
if your thing is playing an instrument, that's not a bad way to kill some time and entertain you and a group. I mean, really, to me, the once we get past all the practical, the knowledge, the things that you really just need to have in your bag, we're getting down to the part of like keeping yourself emotionally centered and having ways to decompress and de-stress in a prolonged
morale boosters.
Yeah, in a prolonged situation, and morale boosters. What else can we toss in here? I want to say cookbooks, but that might be something unique.
Cookbooks can help.
That might be something unique to me because, like, I actually enjoy baking and cooking, and
I cook more of a free-flowing style. It's more of a jazz meal, if you will.
So, since you've opened that door up, that's the same way my wife cooks. She, as she says it, she sprinkles seasoning on the food until her ancestors tell her to stop.
Yes, you season with your heart.
Yeah,
that is the correct way to cook.
I'm a baker. We don't do that. We follow instructions precisely, and measure things.
Baking's a science, though.
Yes, I'm a baker. Makes my nerdy little OCD heart happy to follow instructions.
You know what? Well, yeah, because you really what you're doing when you're baking is you're doing a controlled chemical experiment that makes a bread product at the end.
Yeah. You know what the weird part of it is, though, is that after I've made something once or twice, I've tweaked the recipe, and then what I have to do is I refer to the recipe, and then I'm like, now, what did I change on this to make it taste so good last time?
The answer is almost always more butter.
Well, actually, for like one of my cookie recipes, the answer is that it calls for baking powder and baking soda. And I don't use the baking soda.
Interesting.
Or no. It's the Snickerdoodle recipe. It calls for cream of tartar and baking soda, but instead I omit the cream of tartar and I double the baking soda.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know, like baking soda is literally baking powder and cream of tartar mixed in a ratio.
It is, yeah.
And by doubling the baking soda and omitting the cream of tartar, I'm actually getting about the amount of cream of tartar I would have, but I'm increasing the baking powder. So it makes my Snickerdoodles, instead of like really, really flat, they're kind of, they poof up. And then when they collapse down, they're still thicker and fluffier than a traditional Snickerdoodle.
Interesting.
And they're buttery. Oh, they're buttery.
I think you sent me that recipe.
I might have. I tend to do that. Rachel knows where I'm coming from. I love baking.
She does.
But here's the killer of it is that with the diet that we're on here at this house, like we're leaning. We're not like carnivore, but we're leaning more towards like high protein, high fat, low carbs. I can't use my talents at baking near as often anymore.
Well, you don't have to eat the things you bake. You could just do what my buddy's sister does and drop everything off at work.
Nick, you and I...
And give your coworkers diabetes.
Nick, you and I met in person.
Yep.
Did I strike you as the kind of person that bakes often and doesn't eat it?
Nope.
Okay.
Me either.
Let's just.
Well, my wife bakes often, and I eat it.
Yes. Well, your wife is thin and trim, and I am not. So if I bake cookies,
True.
damn it, they're getting eaten.
Yes. Yes.
Matter of fact, my daughter. This is how I know she's my child, among other reasons, because we look alike. But
you do.
She the other day, I came home from work, and she just randomly said, "I made cookie dough," and I was like, just like
I accept this.
Spontaneously made cookie dough. Like, yeah, because I just want cookie dough. She didn't want to bake it. She just wanted to eat cookie dough.
That's the correct answer.
And the first time she did this, she made edible cookie dough that substitutes out the eggs and everything.
Why would you do that?
Because some people believe that like eating raw eggs will kill you.
All cookie dough is edible. I mean, just don't get the bird poop in your cookies.
That I'm pretty sure I said almost exactly the same thing to Piper. I'm like, I've never had cookie dough that wasn't edible.
I mean, it isn't after a certain quantity, which me and my cousins found out the hard way at Grandma's house. My grandparents are very big on learning lessons the hard way.
That lesson usually sticks better.
Have as much cookie dough as you want. My cousin goes after that shit with an ice cream scooper and just loads up a bowl.
Did you learn?
He did. It took me a couple more tries. I had a stouter stomach.
Anyway, so the second time Piper did this, just randomly, I made cookie dough because I wanted cookie dough. She made it using eggs and everything, and she was like, "It tastes better." I'm like, "That's because it's not as good for you."
Yes,
raw eggs and sugar and butter and all the things that makes it taste good. But anyway,
everything a growing boy needs.
So right before this show, she asked me, she's like, "Can I bake this?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, you know, you didn't keep the recipe, so like we don't have baking guides, but like 350 at 10 minutes is usually a pretty good place to start for peanut butter, for chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, she was going to roll it out into like one gigantic cookie and throw it in the oven.
Ooh, nice.
I
made the mistake of feeding my dog a peanut butter cookie that was the size of her head. Oh, that poor dog. He loved it.
My friggin'
Jeff is on the ball. That was my grandparents' way of teaching us as kids. You get one warning and then live with your consequences.
Yep. And don't you dare complain either.
Yes, sir.
All right. So before I go investigate whether or not my daughter made a chocolate chip cookie or not, as big as her freaking head, or if she put it back in the fridge to just be edible cookie dough for later, is there anything else we can think of? I feel like this, like most topics, we could, if we bat it around long enough, we'll find other stuff to stick in here.
Your power equipment manuals.
I don't see
paper copies of your lawnmower, your weed whacker if you got it, your handheld power tool manuals. Because at the worst case, they'll have a phone number at the back that says, "Call this for customer support."
I see your point. I didn't even think that, because I just thought to myself, like, that's just homeowner stuff. Like,
I read manuals.
Let me just tell you something, KD5 PCK. I don't like reading manuals, but that manual for my generator came in super handy when I needed to know exactly what motor was on it so I could order parts for it.
That's one reason why you need to keep the manuals.
Yeah. Now, I don't know.
Because at the very least, it will tell you exactly what make, model, and type it is.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, with most of your homeowner stuff, like, you know, the manual to your fridge and your freezer and your appliances and your thermostat and all that, most of that stuff is not like super critical until it becomes super critical. Like, you don't need it until you all of a sudden need it.
Like when the power went off 6 times in a row, my water softener thought it was a water filter. Yeah, it turns out they use the same control board for both. I had to get a contractor out to come and take a look at it, and he went, haven't seen that in a while. Doop, 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 boop, done. He said, yeah, it's all in your manuals. I don't have it. Didn't come with the house. He said, that sucks.
Yeah, but interesting enough, if you don't have the manuals, if you can find a model number, you can Google it. Google's really cool for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one's pretty old.
Oh.
So I was not able to find that manual.
That's when you pay somebody that doesn't need the manual.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't that expensive, but it was still more expensive than it needed to be when it was like 8 button pushes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not going to keep batting this topic around because we'll keep finding stuff to throw into the list. I mean,
I think that's a pretty good list. You got some philosophical, you got some practical, you got some entertainment factor.
yeah. But to me, the real linchpin here is I encourage everyone to get a hold of this stuff. And if you want to roll the dice on having digital copies, go for it. If you want to have physical copies, I kind of encourage that for some of this stuff. But I encourage you to get a hold of it now. I encourage you to start at least becoming somewhat familiar with the material now. And that way, when the day comes that you need this information, you recall hopefully enough of it to get by, or at a minimum, you're like, hey, I have a book on that.
Yeah, at least you know where to look to find it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you hope to God you never end up in a situation where you need to pull out your field manual on area denial, but if you need it, you need it.
Oh, Raggle's later than Stewart.
Sorry, Raggle, you're going to have to rewind too, just like Stewart will. But Stewart beat you. He was in a half an hour ago.
He did. My God. That's all right. We still love you.
Yep. All right. Matter of fact, it's going to go out the door. Raggles.
We cannot keep starting the show over. I don't remember what I said.
I don't remember what I said 5 minutes ago, much less at the beginning of the show. But I do enjoy. I love that y'all love that joke.
Mm-hmm. I do appreciate that joke.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll go ahead and punt this one out the door. It seems like lately we've been adding topics mid-show, so I have no earthly idea what we'll talk about next week. But if you have a request, the patrons, y'all have an easy road. You just literally jump into the chat and say, "Hey, stupid asses, like do this topic," and we're usually pretty responsive to that.
Yeah,
we try to be. For all the rest of you, I'm almost never on Facebook because Facebook is digital brain cancer. I
got banned from there again.
I'm occasionally on. I'm on Instagram somewhat regularly, mostly because I am watching Rebels Raiders, waiting for him to pre-order his next line of Vicarians, and I'm just hoping I get a hold of it. I'm hoping I'm early enough that I can get us of M81s.
That would be nice.
I mean, I'll take Ranger Green in a pinch, but I really want an M81 plate carrier. But anyway, I'm on Instagram. The website's a good place to get a hold of us. But, at the end of the day, like if you have a topic request, you could drop it on us and we will probably work it in sooner or later. And if we don't, then, that's just the breaks.
Them's the breaks sometimes.
All right.
You guys have a good night.
Matter of fact, it's going out the door. Bye, everybody.